Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Easy English Stories home channel. This session is dedicated to exploring how you can build a solid foundation for learning English from the basics to fluency, all with the right mindset. Today, I'm excited to dive deep into something that every language learner needs but doesn't always know they're missing: the right mindset for learning English. If you've ever felt like learning English is a difficult, time-consuming process, you're not alone. Many people believe they need to study grammar rules or memorize vocabulary lists endlessly. But what if I told you there's a way to make this journey smoother, faster, and even enjoyable? Today, we'll talk about how to adopt a growth mindset, a way of thinking that encourages learning, helps you overcome obstacles, and ultimately brings you closer to fluency. Now, you might wonder, what does mindset have to do with learning English? Well, in fact, it has everything to do with it. Your mindset shapes how you approach each lesson, how you handle setbacks, and even how much you enjoy learning. We'll break it down into key strategies and tips with practical, real-life examples to make it relatable. By the end of today's session, you'll not only understand why mindset is crucial, but also know exactly how to develop a mindset that will make learning English both easy and effective. So, get comfortable, grab a cup of tea or coffee, and let's start this journey together. 1. Understanding the importance of mindset in language learning. Let's start by defining what we mean when we say mindset. Mindset is essentially the set of beliefs that you hold about your abilities, intelligence, and potential. Think of it like a filter. If you believe you're capable of learning, that learning is fun, and that mistakes are part of the process, you're filtering your experience in a positive way. However, if you believe learning English is just too hard or that you're not good at languages, you're setting up a mental block that can make each step feel heavy and challenging. Imagine two English learners. Let's call them Sarah and Tom. Sarah has a growth mindset. She believes that even though learning English might be challenging, she can improve with time and practice. She sees mistakes as chances to learn and grow. On the other hand, Tom has a fixed mindset. He believes that he's just not good at languages and feels discouraged every time he makes a mistake. Who do you think will make faster progress? According to a study conducted by Stanford University, students with a growth mindset can perform up to 20% better than those with a fixed mindset. In language learning, that's a big deal. It means that by adjusting how you think about learning, you could progress faster, retain more information, and enjoy the journey. So, let's keep this in mind as we dive deeper into what it takes to adopt this mindset. 2. Why mindset matters in language learning. Let's start with a simple question. Why does mindset matter so much when learning English? You might think that mindset is something vague or unimportant, but the truth is that it plays a crucial role in how quickly and easily you learn. Studies in education psychology have shown that learners with a growth mindset are up to 20% more likely to excel in language learning compared to those with a fixed mindset. So what does that mean? A growth mindset is when you believe your abilities can improve with effort, whereas a fixed mindset is when you believe your abilities are limited. Let's break that down. Imagine two learners, Anna and Marco. Anna believes that no matter how much she studies, she'll never be able to understand native speakers. This belief holds her back, and she feels defeated whenever she encounters a challenge. Marco, on the other hand, believes he can improve. When he struggles, he sees it as a stepping stone, not a roadblock. In a way, learning English with a growth mindset is like running a marathon. If you approach it step by step, celebrating every small milestone, you'll find the experience more enjoyable and achievable. 3. Building a positive learning attitude. So, now that we know why mindset is essential, let's talk about building a positive learning attitude. A positive attitude doesn't mean feeling great about every lesson or test. It means embracing challenges and setbacks as natural parts of the process. Many learners worry about speaking because they're afraid of making mistakes. But here's a key mindset shift. Mistakes are opportunities. Every time you make a mistake, you're giving yourself a chance to learn something new. Take an example. Think about a time when you tried to say something in English and it came out wrong. Maybe you mixed up words, or maybe you mispronounced something. Instead of feeling embarrassed, use that as a moment to grow. Tell yourself, all right, next time, I'll know how to say it better. Believe it or not, research shows that learners who are willing to make mistakes can improve their skills 30% faster than those who avoid speaking out of fear. 4. Embracing a growth mindset. Now let's dive into what it really means to have a growth mindset when it comes to learning English. A growth mindset is all about believing that your skills and intelligence can be developed with effort, learning, and persistence. This is different from a fixed mindset, where people believe their abilities are unchangeable. Imagine you're trying to understand English grammar, which can be tricky. Maybe you're struggling with past perfect tense or prepositions. A fixed mindset would say, I'm never going to get this. It's too difficult. But with a growth mindset, you might think, this is challenging, but I'll get it with practice. That small shift in thinking can make a huge difference in your motivation and overall progress. Let's break this down further with a concrete example. Say you're trying to hold a conversation in English, and you find yourself mixing up words or forgetting vocabulary. Instead of thinking, I'm terrible at this, try saying to yourself, every conversation is practice. Every mistake I make is a lesson. Studies show that students who adopt this mindset are less likely to give up. In fact, they're 40% more likely to keep practicing, even when they hit roadblocks. And here's something even more encouraging. Many top language learners have this exact approach. They don't see themselves as naturally gifted. Instead, they see themselves as dedicated learners, putting in the time and effort to improve. 5. Setting realistic and achievable goals. Another key element of the right mindset is setting realistic and achievable goals. When you set goals, you create a roadmap. It gives you direction and helps you stay motivated. But, and this is important, the goals need to be realistic and manageable. Let's say you're just starting out with English, and you decide your goal is to be fluent in 6 months. Now, while that's ambitious, it might also be overwhelming. If you don't reach fluency in that time, you might feel discouraged and give up. Instead, break that big goal into smaller, achievable steps. A realistic goal might be to learn 20 new words each week, or to be able to understand a basic English conversation in 3 months. For example, let's take Maria, who's learning English to work in an international company. Maria's initial goal was to speak fluently in 6 months. After a few weeks, she found herself stressed and discouraged because she wasn't reaching that goal as quickly as she'd hoped. So, she adjusted her approach. She decided to focus on being able to understand 70% of work-related conversations in English by the end of 3 months. This smaller, more achievable goal helped her stay motivated, and after 3 months, she felt more confident and engaged. Breaking down goals can boost your confidence by as much as 30%, as studies on motivation and achievement show. Each time you reach a small goal, you build up a sense of accomplishment, and that encourages you to keep going. 6. Building confidence by embracing mistakes. Now let's talk about mistakes. One of the most important things you can do is to embrace them. Mistakes are a natural part of any learning process. In fact, making mistakes and learning from them can actually increase your retention by up to 50%. That's why adopting a mindset where you see mistakes as learning tools is so powerful. Think of it like this: every time you make a mistake, you're giving yourself an opportunity to understand where you need to improve. Let's say you mispronounce a word. Instead of feeling embarrassed, see it as a chance to learn and practice that word again. Each mistake is helping you get closer to your goal. For instance, if you're learning to say words like through or though, and you accidentally say through instead, take a moment to practice the correct pronunciation rather than feeling defeated. Each attempt is one step closer to mastery. 7. Developing curiosity and seeking out new experiences. A curious mindset can be one of your best assets in learning English. Curiosity is the desire to explore, understand, and learn something new. When you approach English with a curious mindset, you find joy in discovering new words, phrases, and cultural references. It turns learning from a chore into an adventure. Let's say you hear a phrase like, hit the ground running. Instead of moving past it, take a moment to ask, what does this mean? Or, where did this phrase come from? Look it up, use it in a sentence, and see if you can spot it in a conversation. This way, you're building your vocabulary naturally. Studies show that learners who are curious retain information better than those who simply memorize. In fact, curious learners can retain up to 60% more information because their brain is actively engaged in making connections. So, make it a point to ask questions and seek answers. If you hear a new word, don't ignore it. Investigate, repeat it, and see where else you might encounter it. It's a mindset shift that makes learning fun and highly effective. 8. Practicing consistency over intensity. Another key aspect of the right mindset is understanding the value of consistency over intensity. Many people think they need to study for hours at a time to see progress. But in reality, shorter, regular practice sessions can be more effective than occasional long study periods. This concept is rooted in what we call spaced repetition, repeating information over time rather than cramming. Let's say you dedicate just 15 minutes each day to learning English. Over a week, that's 105 minutes of study time. But if you only study once a week for 60 minutes, you're not building the same daily habit, and you're likely to forget more between sessions. Think of it like going to the gym. A few minutes every day can lead to better results than a 2-hour workout once a week. With language, the same principle applies. Consistency creates a habit, and habits are what lead to long-term success. 9. Embracing patience and consistency. A big part of learning English is developing patience and practicing consistency. We all want quick results, but language learning is more like planting a garden than flipping a switch. It takes time, and that's perfectly okay. Consistency is your best friend here. Spending 15 minutes every day practicing English is more effective than trying to study for 2 hours just once a week. Here's a concrete example. Imagine you're trying to improve your listening skills. Instead of watching an entire English movie once a week, try watching a 5-minute clip every day. Over time, you'll notice that you start understanding more and more, even though you're only spending a short amount of time each day. In fact, studies have shown that learners who practice consistently, even in small amounts, retain information up to 50% better than those who cram all at once. Consistency builds momentum, and momentum fuels progress. Just think of it as watering a plant every day. You might not see changes immediately, but over time, the results become clear. 10. Overcoming the fear of mistakes. Now, let's address one of the biggest hurdles in learning English, the fear of making mistakes. So many learners hold back because they're worried about saying the wrong word, mispronouncing something, or not being understood. But here's a mindset shift that can change everything. Mistakes are proof that you're trying. Imagine you're learning to play a new sport. You're not going to be perfect right away, right? You'll miss some shots, you'll fall, and that's how you improve. The same goes for English. Every time you make a mistake, you're getting closer to your goal. In fact, there's a famous saying, "The road to success is paved with mistakes well learned from." Let's say you're in a conversation and you mispronounce a word. Instead of feeling embarrassed, take a mental note and practice that word later. Embracing mistakes as part of the learning process makes you more resilient, and research actually shows that language learners who make and reflect on mistakes progress up to 25% faster than those who strive for perfection. 11. Celebrating small wins. Lastly, let's talk about the importance of celebrating small wins. Learning English is a long journey, and it's easy to get discouraged if you're only focusing on the final goal. But if you break it down into smaller achievements, you'll find it much more satisfying. For example, if you've learned 10 new words this week, celebrate it. If you've watched a short video in English and understood most of it, give yourself a pat on the back. These small wins build confidence and motivation. According to a study in positive psychology, people who celebrate small wins experience a 30% boost in motivation. So, don't wait for big milestones. Acknowledge every step forward, no matter how small it may seem. 12. Staying motivated through reflection and reward. The last aspect of the right mindset is to stay motivated by reflecting on your progress and rewarding yourself. Motivation can be challenging to maintain, especially with something as complex as language learning. But one way to keep your motivation high is to recognize and celebrate small wins. After a few weeks, look back and see how much progress you've made. Reflecting can increase your motivation by 25%, as studies in psychology show. And that brings us to the end of today's session. I hope these insights have given you a new perspective on the mindset needed to learn English easily and quickly. Remember, mindset isn't something you develop overnight. It's a practice. Embrace curiosity, set clear goals, stay consistent, celebrate your small wins, And most importantly, don't fear mistakes. They're part of your growth. Thank you for joining me on English Learning Mindset. If you found this session helpful, please share it with others who are on their English learning journey. Subscribe for more insights, and remember, every word you learn is one step closer to fluency. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing.